am Elaine Cercado. I am the Managing Director of POWERinU Training and Coaching LLP based in Singapore. And I would like to welcome formally each one of you to our complimentary webinar here in POWERinU entitled The Boat is Sinking, The Power of Rock Bottom. This complimentary webinar is brought to you by POWERinU Training and Coaching Philippines Incorporated. POWERinU is a training, coaching, and consulting company, and we've been offering free webinars since January 2019. Our mission is to partner with organizations to enable them to deliver strong business results by enhancing their talent and leadership through value-adding strategic consulting solutions. So now I'd like to introduce our distinguished speaker. Our speaker today has over 2 decades of experience in organization development consulting. He is an author and a renowned management consultant and organizational development specialist who continues to engage individuals and consultants and organizations, in their journey of seeking clarity on their sense of identity, purpose, and destiny. Most of his consulting engagements revolve around corporate purpose, vision, mission, values, culture, and strategy. His focus has mainly been with family-owned businesses, helping them sustain success beyond second and third generations. He believes in bringing faith-based values to the workplace, driven by a sense of mission. Tonight, he will offer insights into what most of us dread, hitting rock bottom. Having experienced his own rock bottom and witnessing sinking boat episodes in both organizations and individuals he has worked with, he will now remind us that there is power in rock bottom. Everyone, let us welcome Mr. Omi Romero. Omi,
Hi.
I turn over to you now.
Hi,
Good
Elaine.
evening.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Maybe before we start, Trina, do we have results of why they, what do you call this, why they participated or why they joined us tonight?
I don't think we have that yet, Omi. I think we will launch that now.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, all right.
So this is a question that we'd like to ask even before I start off with what I will share tonight. One is, what made you attend this webinar? That's a question that we wanted to find out before that. Is it because of an interesting title, or are you going through a sinking episode? Or I'd like to find out more about the power of rock bottom. Let's see. Let's just give it a few seconds more. Thank you for all the, yeah, we continue to have answers. Ten more seconds and then we'll wrap it up. We just want to see where people are coming from. You know, it's always good to see. Okay, there you go. After a minute, I'm sure some of you still want to answer that, but after a minute, here are the results. 59% say I'd like to find out more about the power of rock bottom. And next on the line is 25% say interesting title, and 16% I'm going through a sinking episode. Wow. Thank you for answering that short poll. Just good for us to start off with an idea of where you're all coming from. So the boat is sinking, the power of rock bottom. That's what we want to share with you tonight. You know, the story of this dates back to about maybe 5 to 10 years ago. You know, I would always tell my friends about stories of sinking episodes that we encounter with organizations and even individuals and even leaders that we engage with. And there seems to be a common storyline, a common theme that moves around it. And it is that rock bottom or sinking episodes become a what do you call this, a platform for people to see breakthroughs in their lives. And as I keep on telling these stories, I've always parang verbatim, many people would always say, Omi, you should write a book, you should write a book. So I began writing the book about maybe I would say 5 to 7 years ago. But guess what, when we were just about to go on print this year, si parang COVID-19 came, and there goes the publication plans. But guess what, our publisher, Shepherd's Voice Publication, said, you know what, we should come out even with the ebook series, because reading through your book, sabi nung isang editor, the editor said, reading through your book, it's really very timely for this season. you know Ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the things that we can agree on is, number one, all of us we're either in a storm, or we're either that in a storm or helping someone through a storm. So that's the story of our lives. That's why the title, "The Boat is Sinking, the Power of Rock Bottom," is actually the title of the book that we launched. And because there are many countless sinking seasons in personal and organizational life. And actually, why the boat is sinking, many of you will identify with the game that we played ng mga bata pa tayo when we were young. We had this game, "The Boat is Sinking. Form yourselves into groups of three or groups of four." And we scramble for, to get into a group of four, a group of five. And we did that. Elaine knows this. In our consulting business, we like to warm things up before a session. And you know what? My observation has been, people come in serious, executives, ganyan. And because you want to warm things up, you play this game. The boat is sinking. Form yourselves into groups of five. And with, almost instantly, it changes their whole behavior from being very formal to just exhibiting a, what they call this, an para emergency response to a crisis. And that's why, in fact, it was my son-in-law who said, maybe we should give it a title, "The Boat is Sinking," and then "The Power of Rock Bottom." So common theme here is, I think for many of us, it's a power of rock bottom is what we're going to experience. And seeming insurmountable odds and challenges, we always go there, turn out to be what, the catalysts that actually take us from the pits of our life to the pinnacles. So this is both not just my observation, but both my personal experience. So one of the things that I wanted to share here is that rock bottom is real for all of us, and the boat is sinking experience is real, and we all have a primal instinct to respond to crisis. And countless people that I've talked to will always say, yeah, they went through a rock bottom experience. It was very difficult. It was very challenging. It felt like things were going to crumble, like it is today. Like here in the Philippines, many of us know that we've just gone back to modified ECQ. I wish we were like Singapore with simple one, two, or three nomenclature. Here we have modified, enhanced, quarantine. So because of that, so many boat is sinking episodes happen. And here's one thing that we've observed. Countless people will attest to saying that rock bottom, whatever rock bottom they went through or are going through, is becoming or has become the best thing that even changed their life. So in other words, there is power in rock bottom. That's a key message that we want to share with you. If there's one thing that we want you to keep in mind as you go through this, is that there is power in rock bottom. And many times it might even help for you to say this, to verbalize this to yourself. There is power in rock bottom even as you go through it. I couldn't help but respond to picture to you as a story, a faith-based story of a man called Joseph. The story is a pit to pinnacle, the story of Joseph. Many of us know this story from the Bible. He was one of the sons of Jacob, became the favorite, and he had a dream. And because his sibling brothers became jealous of him, they wanted to kill him, but instead they said, let's just sell him so that we make some money. So sold as a slave. Can you imagine a story? You're the favorite of your parents, you're the favorite of your father, and you have dreams, but in the end, the next part of your story is you're sold as a slave. And then sold as a slave, so he's taken to a strange land. And while in that strange land, he's serving very well. He was given trust by the governor equivalent. However, at some point, he was accused of rape, of wrongfully, of raping the wife of the governor, and he was wrongfully imprisoned. Can you imagine? Sold as a slave, taken to a strange land, and then while he thought he was gaining favor, he was accused of rape. And then while he was in jail, he was forgotten by the cupbearer who promised him, you helped me here, I'm going to help you get out. But he was forgotten. That promise wasn't fulfilled until he eventually, as a chain of events, led him to becoming what the second most powerful person in Egypt. So what are we saying here? What seems like a dead end for you today, whatever you're going through, is often the unfolding of the best days of your life. And I can attest to that. I have a story about personal story personal story. When I was 6 years old, I have very vivid memories of being exposed to a lot of conflict between my mom and dad. And although this could have been the normal, what they call this, things that happen between husband and wife, to a 6 year old like me, it was very traumatic. So I'm saying that the story of being a 6 year old exposed to conflict between parents, to the point where I have vivid memories of trying to grab their hands and forcing them and pleading with them to to reconcile. And I think that influence up on me at 6 years old gave me a fear of conflict. Wherever I went, my mode of interaction with people was to be reconciliatory, to be accommodating, avoiding conflict at all costs. So that was it. I thought that was the dead end for me, that I was a person afraid of conflict. But guess what? Today, I'm on my 24th year of consulting. I look back, and I can say to you that most of my work involves conflict resolution. So the very same thing that I felt damaged me, the very same thing that brought me down, that brought me to my rock bottom in terms of fear, is actually my platform for helping organizations, individuals, families today in the area of conflict resolution. Can you imagine? So you may have something like that you're going through, and let me just share with you some of the key lessons that I've learned from these sinking seasons. One is, there has been whenever we are in a sinking season or a rock bottom experience, it's so important. And I know that this can be easier said than done, to see beyond the sinking vision, to get out of that sinking experience, that rock bottom experience, and say, what is it that I can see? And many times, ironically, to see clearer, we must have to close our eyes, so that we can reflect more. So one of the lessons that I wanted to share with you: sinking seasons are seasons. They're not your destiny. So it's very important that as we go through these things, that we don't take this as, in Tagalog, we would say, wala na akong pag-asa. Talagang ganyan ang buhay ko. Ginuhit na ng tadhana. But actually, one of the lessons that we want to highlight here is, whatever rock bottom experience you're going through, whatever sinking season you're going through, remember this: sinking seasons are just seasons. They are not your destiny. And I would also encourage you to say this next thing, that what seems like the worst thing in your life could be the foundation on which your best days will be built on. And the other thing that I wanted to share is, um, sinking seasons are not a setback. They are instead a setup. Let me share with you a story by this is a company that we worked with. They were a power contractor. They were a power contractor. And when I say sinking seasons are not a setback, they're a setup. We were engaged by this company to to help them in 1997. This was in Indonesia, and they were going through a what they call this financial crisis. And we went through a season of helping them assess where they were going to go. Their problem at that time was they were in a situation where they had so many people, but with the financial crisis, what would they do? They're power contractors. There were no jobs to look for. And we helped them through that process that eventually, long and short of it, took them to different countries like Vietnam and the Middle East. And that kept them, what do you call this, not just surviving but thriving. And I remember this is just so encouraging because I met the president 3 years later in an airport, and he said, "Mr. Omi, you have to tell your team that in 1997, if we didn't go through that, we wouldn't be in the growth momentum that we are in today." And I'm very grateful that we went through that crisis of losing almost all the business, so that it made us look elsewhere for other business. So they look to Vietnam, they look to the Middle East. So it's just one story that tells us what seems like the worst thing in your life could be what? The foundation on which your best days will be built on. So again, sinking seasons are not a setback, they are a setup. I'm going to share with you a funny word. The word is ekbalo. It's a Greek word that actually means to cast out, or to drive out, or to send out to being to nowhere. And in Tagalog, in the Filipino language, it's something like hinagis, para itapon. But guess what? It may sound bad when you're ikbalod, like you can use it as a verb, but actually this is what it's saying. When you go through a rock bottom experience, when you walk through a sinking season experience, believe that it is going to ikbalo you, not in the negative sense, but in the positive sense of being launched or planted elsewhere. So it's you think you've been thrown out, you've been thrown out, but the point is you're being launched or being planted. So very important uh, thing for us to keep in mind. Let's go to a destination check. Many of you know that a destination check in every commercial airline, before it takes off, will have to give a destination check. I used to think that this was just uh, a common courtesy that an airline says, "Welcome on board flight SQ 159 bound for," and they say where they're going, and only to find out it's not actually just a common courtesy. It's a mandate by all civil aeronautics boards that a commercial airline must have a destination check that articulates or says where it's going. And here's one of the important things about it: you can give a destination check. When you give a destination check, you must make sure that your exit doors are still open, so that people can still leave the aircraft. No? But that's just a story about the destination check. But I wanted to relate this to um, sinking seasons. We're talking about the boat is sinking. Some of you said, "I'm going through a sinking season myself." So if you're going through that sinking season, let me share with you things that we've picked up, not just from my personal experience, but also from the experience of the companies that we've worked with. Number one is know where you are. So it's take a step back to gain perspective. Are you all familiar? If you go to a mall, there are usually these directories that you go to if you want to find a stall or where a shop is. And then there's an arrow that says, "You are here." So it's very important that when you're as you go through a boat is sinking experience, as you go through a what do you call this, a rock bottom experience, know where you are. So take a step back to gain perspective and say, okay, where am I, what's going on, trying to understand it. And the next thing I'm going to share is be clear about three things. For easy recall, it's IPD. It's identity, it's purpose, it's destiny. So why identity? Many organizations, if you ask them what they do or what their business is, they have already answered. Or you also have organizations that when you ask them, how do you do things? Oh, they have a way, they have a process. And but if you ask them, who are you and why do you do what you do? You sort of get a blank stare. And this just tells me, over the past 24 years, it's been clear to me that one of the more important starting points if working with organizations is to help them navigate that journey of clarifying who are we, what are we here for, which is purpose, and what's our destiny. In the corporate world, you'd say destiny would be what? Your strategic roadmap. So it's so important. Whoever you are, whatever rock bottom experience you're going through, whatever sinking, boat is sinking experience you're going through, take a step back, know where you are, first of all, and then identify, be clear about, sino ba ako? Who am I? Because that's a good starting point. Why am I here? And then be clear about where you're going. I found out that the people who work in emergency medical services, yung mga 911, I found out that they have a code. As soon as they pick up a victim, they have a code to tell the hospital what condition someone is in. And I think one of the codes that they use is alert and oriented times one. And alert and oriented times one means the person doesn't has no consciousness. You ask him the name, they can't even give their name. You ask them what happened, they don't even know what happened. And then it progresses to alert and oriented 4, 3, 2, and then you have the highest, which is alert and oriented times 4 or times 1, which I get this thing mixed up. It's the extreme of a person knows his name, a person knows what just happened, a person knows where they are. So I share this because whenever we go through a boat is sinking experience, a rock bottom experience, it tends to disorient us. Sa Tagalog, nabubulabog tayo, and we lose sight of who we are and why we're here. For organizations, one of the things that I found helpful is what they call a STARS framework of Michael Watkins. He has this book, The First 100 Days, and STARS actually is an acronym for, are you a startup? That's the S. The TA is, are you a turnaround? And R, are you in realignment? Or S is, are you sustaining success? Michael Watkins says that this is so important, whenever you start on a journey of organization effectiveness, you want to distinguish, are you a startup? Meaning to say, if you're a startup, there are pros and cons going, pros going in your favor and also things that are going against you. If you're turnaround, meaning to say you've hit rock bottom and you're trying to build up, that's another scenario for you. If you're in realignment, let's say after the COVID scenario, whenever that will be, it could be a realignment or it could be a turnaround for many of us. Or are you in sustaining success? I heard that there are many organizations, there are fewer organizations today that are on sustaining success as a result of the COVID, what do you call this, the COVID pandemic. So STARS framework, so know where you are, and that will give you a picture or some clarity about where you are. The next thing is about sigmoid curves. Have you heard of sigmoid curves? The sigmoid curves would be about, it's like an S curve where the start of the S is on the left, and the start of the S is called an inception point. An inception point, when you're writing an S from the left side going down, it's downward, and whenever you're starting off something, it's downward. You're not sure if you're doing the right thing, and you get the feeling that you're doing things wrong. And the sigmoid curve principle says that if you hurdle the inception curve, going up is growth and maturity. And then they say that after the growth and maturity is a kind of a plateau when people ask you, "Oh, kumusta na? How are you doing?" And you say, nothing that has much has changed. And the S curve framework tells us, be careful, because when you're going through a plateau, or a maturity stage, it might signal a decline. And the important thing is your rock bottom a decline that's signaling the start of a new S curve? Because in my life, I've had, if I were to track my own S curves, there would be several. One of the S curves I went through was losing a job in 1986. I was working in government and then transferred to the private sector as marketing manager. And after 5 months, several managers together with me were taken out because the company was acquired. No savings, no no savings, and the most difficult part was that year, 1986, was one of the toughest moments, toughest rock bottoms for me. My father had just passed away early that year. And second is, after I lost my job, no savings. Can you imagine? My wife, Roseanne, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, still a disease, a degenerative disease that still has no cure. Among us, we jokingly say, sakit ng mayabang. Kasi, because there's still no cure. And we didn't even have the money to go through what they call that, an MRI, a magnetic resonance imaging. So no job, and then a diagnosis of a disease that's degenerative, and then the birth of our youngest daughter, and the uncertainty of, wow, where do I look for income? But friends, I like I've always said, the start of this, even during that time, when I look back at 1996, at yeah 1986, I'd say that was a banner year, because it was during that year that I really went through a, what they call this, taking a step back. Who am I? Why am I here? What direction will I go? Long and short of it, it's a totally different story to tell how I found my job. But eventually, that journey took me to becoming an entrepreneur. So I became a distributor for 3M, for Warner Lambert, for Colgate, and eventually Kraft. So that journey of being a distributor, being on my own entrepreneur, lasted many years, 1986 to about 1996, when I joined OTI. So just before I leave this portion about destination check, it's so important that as we all go through our rock bottom experience, that we first know where we are, be clear about who we are, why we're here, having a destiny. And um, I was talking to Elaine before this, and we were saying, I like the name of your company, POWERinU, because it highlights that indeed God has put power in us that we can draw from. And this is about, and oftentimes it hinges on being clear about first our identity, our purpose, and our destiny. So that's the destination check. Let me go to the next slide, rock bottom drop. So this is when we, I think one of the things that I want to share here is we are not alone in hitting rock bottom. So I was just listening, by the way, to a TED Talks film today, an episode about who are the people who live longer, the top 10. You know what the top, that number one was? Social integration, being able to have a community of people you can relate to, being part of a group that you can disclose yourself to, being in a group that can give you feedback. So, I mean, that's just a side story, but let me just share with you about rock bottom drop. It's just something that we put together. The D is for rock bottom distills what's important. So think of what you're going through now. Your rock bottom. What is it? Is it a family issue? Is it a business concern that's hitting rock bottom? Is it a conflict that's holding you back? Rock bottom will help distill what's important to you. And then R is rock bottom reveals our nothing. So it reveals that where we are helpless and where we need help. And like Elaine said, I like espousing or encouraging people to apply faith-based principles. And rock bottom reveals our nothing is so good because it tells us that when we are weak, then we are at our strongest, because then we can turn to God in that particular situation. O is rock bottom opens doors that would not have opened otherwise. So it's very clear that even as you go through your rock bottom today, be hopeful and be prayerful, asking for the right doors to open at that particular moment. And it may take time, it may be quick, or it may take time, but the fact is, the rock bottom will open doors that would not have happened otherwise. And P in the drop is rock bottom propels you to where you should be. So it has a way of, uh, for example, this COVID pandemonium, pandemonium. Um, we have this. We had some plans about working virtually, and we had some plans about rearranging our work arrangements. And the pandemic had a way of what we call this propelling, or making making us move faster to where we want to be. So if now that a lot of us are working from home, it has actually propelled us. So but that's work related. I'm sure that if you have rock bottom that relates to family, relates to relationships, uh, you can trust that as you go through this process, let it distill what's important to you. Let it reveal your nothingness so that you can trust the power of your faith, and you can trust that doors will open to help bring you resolution and propel you to where you should be. So I'm going to go now to actually about my last slide, the way forward. I think these are just some of the few things that I want to leave with you. Number one is accept that rock bottom episodes will come. I've heard some people say that the formation of their character or their breakthroughs in their organizational life, in their business, in their relationships, never came during successful or smooth times. They happened during rock bottom episodes. So experiences have a way of coming to us to shape our destiny. But you know what's important is to remember that rock bottom is not a tomb, hindi siya libingan, but it's a womb to start something. And I can say this with a lot of conviction because when I look back, I have a list of all the rock bottom, what they call this rock bottom experiences I've had. And I can always point to the fact that there has never been a rock bottom in my life that became a tomb. It never became a burial place. It only became a birthplace, a place for new life. The third thing that I want to share with you is don't be tempted to think that rock bottom is a prison. It's more of a cocoon that will develop you into who you're supposed to be. We are shaped by adversity. They say that uh, there's a what you call the IQ, there's what you call the EQ, emotional quotient, but there's also the AQ, the adversity quotient. And the principle of adversity quotient tells us that the more adversity you go through, the stronger you become. Even physiologically, if there are doctors here among I know that you'll identify with the fact that each adversity we go through has a way of strengthening what they call our dendrites, or those that connect our nerves. And imagine it. adversity having even a physiological benefit to us. Next thing that I want to share is rock bottom is not rejection, it's a redirection. So if I look back at all my rock bottom experiences from childhood all the way to even my our work with organizations, when we do exercises, we do S curve exercises where we see their points of the start of an S curve to their growth and maturity and the start of a new S curve. It's always been that rock bottom has always been a redirection, never a rejection. So remember that word, ekbalo, that rock bottom is not being thrown or cast away. It's about being launched. So it's about being launched towards something better. So I'm going to end this with just with that thought for you that rock bottom episodes will come. Uh, but here's another thing: know where you are in your journey. And you know what I found very helpful is to ask in prayer, Lord, reveal to me my storyline. All of us will have unique storylines. And the more clarity you have about identity, purpose, destiny, and your storyline, the more peace you will have, and the more breakthroughs you will draw from your boat is sinking experience from your rock bottom. Thank you. Q&A.
Thank you, Omi.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you
Elaine.
so much. That was very inspiring. Thank
Wow.
you so much. I have many questions actually. We'll go straight to the first question, Omi.
Okay.
How are we going to encourage ourselves if we are already in the middle of losing our hopes to fight on the present situation? That's from
Right.
Janeth Ranoko.
I won't, Janet, I won't attempt to answer that completely, but all I can say is in the many personal rock bottom experiences I've been through, it's been very helpful to have a circle of friends uh, to draw from. And second is it's so important that I think even at the start of this, I was Elaine said that I like to espouse faith-based approaches, and I would always encourage that you draw strength from God. I think one of the main things that I want to pass on to you is when you are at your weakest, you can be your strongest as you turn to the Lord in faith. Hope that I hope that will help.
Thank you. That helps for me, and I hope Jeanette as well. There is one, if all is lost, what is your source of strength to bounce back? It might be a bit related, but would
Yes,
you like to answer that, Omi?
yes. Maybe the answer I'd like to give is in Tagalog. Lasapin mo, savor all that you're losing before God will restore everything. I mean, there's so many lessons. If you know you're asking what is your source of strength, I think every rock bottom experience, you will have a lot of lessons to learn from na that you will take along with you. Babaunin mo. And I just want to add this. Savor it. You know why? Because
Mm-hmm.
eventually, sooner or later, you're going to encounter someone who's going through the same experience that you went through. And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? You will be the only person credible to
Can
answer
help.
that person because you've
Yes.
been there, done that.
Yes, exactly. Thanks for that, Omi.
Yeah.
If there is an average or estimated time to recharge after breaking down or being burned out in a sinking season, is there an average or estimated time? And there's a follow-up question. Is it more of having realization from the situation you're having faced or had faced? So two questions
Yeah.
there.
I'd say sometimes the adversity lasts briefly. However, um, looking back on my personal experience and then the experience of people we worked with, sometimes it's a what they call this, a cycle of things that happen. uh Hindi, it can't be done just once, eh. And I think even now as I share this, I'm telling this actually to myself, that
Mm.
either you're in a storm or you're helping someone through a storm, and as you help someone through a storm, another storm comes to you. But it's all part of the growth, the formation of who we are,
Mhm.
forming us in our identity.
Mhm. I love that sinking season
Yeah,
section. Yes.
yeah.
So they're just seasons,
They're
right?
just seasons. Yeah,
Yes. Now, Filipinos are being regarded or are regarded as resilient
yeah,
since we are able to get back on track after facing a natural disaster. Well, Philippines is known for all these natural disasters, right? What
yeah.
do you think about this common belief about us, about Filipinos?
You know, it's so true among us. Eh. If you go to the drop, yung distills, reveals are nothing, opens and propels, it's because we Filipinos are able to do with so little.
Mhm.
Um, we're so in the midst, you know, just last Saturday here in Metro Manila, there's a lot of floods, but guess what? You saw people swimming in the in the floods. We have a, I think it's a gift to us as a nation that we are a resilient people. And I think that's not just meant for us. It's meant for us to give that strength to other nations. In
Mhm.
fact, I know of other nations who say, buti pa kayong Pilipino, parang it's a good thing. You can take this, you know, with a sense of humor, because
Yes.
others don't. It's a gift
Yes.
we have as a nation.
That's right. Whenever I go back to the Philippines, the first thing I feel is the energy in the airport. When I land, the energy, the vibrance, the happiness.
Yeah.
Yes, we're happy people. So, there's another question, Omi. Aren't rock bottom episode signs that we are not at our best?
Yes, definitely. Um, it means that there's so much more that is being formed in us,
Mm,
or if it's an organization that there's still, it's a learning journey. I'd like to say it's a learning journey.
mm,
Whenever rock bottom episodes happen, take it as a learning journey. There's so much to learn from that will eventually make you stronger, take you to the next level.
mhm. Okay. I missed one question. Sorry, I
Yeah,
skipped that. What's the most constraining factor that makes one stuck in the rock bottom?
wallowing in it. if
Mm-hmm.
you if you wallow in it and do self pity, kawawa naman ako, nawalan ako ng trabaho, wala na pag-asa yung buhay ko, there's no more hope for me because I lost my job. You know, words have power,
Mm-hmm.
and what we tell ourselves in the midst of our rock bottom experience is what can make or break us.
Mm-hmm.
So constraining factor is also the thought process or the words that we tell ourselves during
Mm-hmm.
our rock bottom experience.
Yeah. So our self-talk.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, questions keep on coming. How do I convince someone that it's not the end when they have lost a family member due to COVID, lost a job, or with a family business, stress at finding a job, and juggling with the kids? How can I reframe this person's mindset?
Wow. I first of all, thank you, because I like the way you use that word reframe, because it's what's important for a person going through a rock bottom experience is to be able to reframe the experience.
Mhm.
Pero ito masasabi ko, I just have a off the cuff my answer to how do I convince someone that it's not the end when they have lost a family member due to COVID, lost a job. Ang bibigat, di ba?
Mhm.
I heard from Rick Warren something that's so helpful. He said, the deeper the pain, the less words we should use. So what I'm saying here is, I think when someone is going through a rock bottom experience, our presence alone is what's needed, not our solutions,
Mhm.
not our suggestions right away. I mean, eventually it will come that we can give them things to help them reframe, but I think presence is what will convince someone
Mhm.
that we're still there. May pag-asa pa rin because we're there.
Mhm. Your presence. Okay. So, and reframing is very,
Yeah,
very important.
very
Reframing
important.
our, yes. From Michael Villa Gomez, if an employee in one organization feels demoralized and as if no development is happening to him or her, what advice can we give?
I would ask that person what he or she would want to be. Parang bring out the dream of that person,
Mhm.
and then help that person determine what steps they need to take. If it takes getting out of that organization, maybe that's also an answer.
Mhm. Mhm. So aspiring, dreaming,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Omi. From Annabelle Monzon, what
Huy.
if you stay too long in the rock bottom? Something related as well to the earliest
Yeah.
question.
I think it's all right to stay long in the rock bottom, to savor it, to recognize your nothingness, to consider your options. But I would say I will not stay too long to wallow in it, or to be. I think one of the things we can guard against is self pity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So self-pity is our enemy.
Yeah.
And there's this one from Benji.
Si
Benji
Benji,
Garcia, of course, you know Benji
Benji, we see each
from
other
Power in
everywhere.
You. Our Power in You and our business partners are here right now.
Yeah.
How does one deal with their rock bottom experience if they do not believe in God?
I think in my I would say this from my experience. It's the rock bottom experience that they went through that made them turn to God.
Mm-hmm.
God has a way of he's not wasteful. He'll make sure that
Mm-hmm.
whatever you go through brings you closer to him.
Mm-hmm. So the key words being the rock bottom experience is the
Yeah, yeah.
experience, the
Yeah.
journey, right? And from that journey, something will come out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. What's the very foundation of adversity quotient from Jay Silva?
Okay. Hey, J Silva, the
Jay
the
S.
guy
Silva.
the guy who was very prominent in the talk about adversity quotient is a guy by the name of Paul Stoltz, Stolz. And he talks
ST.
about how in our brains, he was the one who said that we all go through an adversity, big or small, every day, for 23 times, parang one
Mm,
adversity every hour. And he was also the same one who made the survey, made the study, made the research that showed that going through an adversity actually strengthens our dendrites, hindi dandruff, dendrites. The,
okay.
the, the,
The one in the brain.
the,
Yep,
the
that you said.
connection of our nervous system. So if you
Yes.
want to read more, Paul Stoltz he's the authority on AQ.
Stolz.
Z.
Okay.
Yeah, Z.
Okay,
Singapore.
pause.
Singaporean.
Okay.
Singaporean.
We have last three questions here and
Yeah.
we'll see if we still have time to take in more. Would you say that all top or richest or famous people hit rock bottom, which made them who they are right now? Can you share examples?
Rona, yeah. Thank
Yes,
you for
from
that,
Rona.
because I sort of missed sharing that it's been my typical conversation with leaders of organizations, especially founders. I asked them what were their rock bottom experiences. I still have to see someone who said he didn't have any rock bottom
Mhm.
experience. And maybe just so we don't break any confidentiality or anything, I think a common story, to like the story of John Gokong Wei.
Mhm.
If you go through that book that Lance wrote about him and the rock bottom experiences he went through, and the same thing with Henry C. These are actual stories of realizing, wow, they're there because of the rock bottom experiences that they went through.
Mhm.
Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you, Omi. And on the lighter side, what activities are you doing now to keep a positive mindset?
Longer prayer time, exercise. I go cycling, walking, and I'm not able to play golf in the golf course, but just driving and having a lot of time with Roseanne over
Mhm.
here. She's just
Your
beside
wife.
me.
Yes, your loving
And my
wife.
daughter.
How do
And
these sports bring you positive mindset, Omi?
oh, the challenge, like the challenge of I have a son-in-law who has a big body, and he's the one
Mhm.
who's coaching me in doing weights.
Mhm.
And he's the one who's very straightforward. And if he sees you being able to manage 40 kilos, he never hesitates. Oh, dagdagan natin, dad, kayang-kaya nyo na eh.
Mhm.
And then you're just about to start on 50 kilos and he's saying, next week siguro, dad, 100 kilos, kaya nyo na.
We
So
should
it's
have that here. Yep, good challenges, right? And they keep you
challenges, yeah.
positive. I think I have time for maybe just last two questions. Why is that when you are in a difficult situation, some loved ones cannot give that support or compassion that you need most?
Yeah. I'll share with you something that Roseanne, that I learned from Roseanne, because Roseanne going through a degenerative disease goes through a lot of pain. And one of the things that she says is her challenge in multiple sclerosis is she doesn't look sick.
Mhm.
And one thing that I'm learning from her, she said, whatever it is I need is what I will give.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when she feels that she needs to be attended to, she looks for someone to attend to. So, so I don't know if that answers why is it that in your difficult situations, some loved ones cannot give the support or compassion you
Mhm.
need most.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's true.
And I
Uh,
guess the more you receive, the more you give, or vice versa. The more you give, the more you receive,
that's right.
isn't it?
That's right. And that's one thing I learned from Lausanne. Whatever it is that you need, give it.
Mhm.
Give it first. So,
Mhm.
how would you? What about our next question, Elaine?
Okay, last two, Omi. There's a lot more coming in, and we'll probably just answer them by email or when we send out our webinar recording to all of you, which is within the next 24 hours. Last two, how would you respond to this corporate quote, never push your employees to the point where they no longer care?
Yeah. Di ba? Because there's a principle that first and foremost, the employees, whatever your strategy is, whatever your strategic roadmap is, whatever your goal is, the first place to begin with is to show your employees that you care for them, that you have you have them in mind in everything. Yeah, I think that's importante yun.
Mhm.
And
And what is your giveaway message for everyone? I think you've given away so many, so many messages, Omi. But if there's one last message that you would give,
yeah, savor your rock bottom experience and believe that sooner or later, whether you like it or else, there's going to be someone with a similar rock bottom experience who will need your help. And you're the only person credible to give that help because you've been there, done that.
Mhm. And with that, Omi, I'd like to thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
everything, all the messages, the inspiration. And I didn't have time to read through the chat box, but there were so many messages that came out, quoting, inspiration, motivation, and all
Yeah.
their takeaways. So, for everyone who learned from this webinar, thank you so much for everyone who attended, and thank you so much,
Yeah.
Omi. If you'd
Please,
like to know, sorry, yes, go ahead.
can we have these questions so that we can answer them?
Yes. What we will
In,
do is we have captured them. Trina, whom everyone can see as Power in New Philippines, is has captured it, and we will answer them with your help, of course, Omi. We'll
yeah.
send them to you. You answer, and then we'll send them all when we send also the webinar recording.
Oh, are we going to show my book pala?
Yes. So to
Yes.
those who would like to learn more about the power of rock bottom, you can buy Omi's ebook on Amazon, Kindle, and feastbooks.ph. Okay. So would you like to talk more about this, Omi?
Yeah,
We
so
have about a minute. Yep.
right now it's on ebook or Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And in about 2 weeks, we're going to come out with the hardbound copy. So if you want to know more about it, we have a website, theboatissinking.com.
We'll
And
send as well to those who have attended this webinar. We'll send that link to
yeah,
your website. And in fact, in the chat box, I already saw one asking about your book,
yeah,
this book, Omi.
yes,
So I'm
yes,
sure the
yes.
100 plus here in the Zoom, plus the 300 plus, in the Facebook, and all those who have registered will find out more, and hopefully we'll get to read this very interesting, inspiring, motivating book. We'd
Wow.
also like to invite you to get your free copy of the ebook Forward Shift, Managing Your Life in the Time of Pandemic, guidance from mentors and coaches from across the world, from our very own POWERinU director, Penny Bongato.
Oh yeah.
Penny, she actually made this free ebook. It's available in our powerinu.com.ph website. And those who registered in this webinar will automatically get a copy of this ebook. Okay, and then the next thing, we'd like to remind everyone to subscribe to powerinu.com.ph to get updates on our events, webinars, and free resources, from POWERinU and our partners. And, resources like the ebook from Penny and all these webinar recordings. And of course, for our next webinar next month, September 16, our registration has already started. The topic for next month will be Secure Your Data and Transform Your Business in the COVID-19 Era, to be given by CEO of NetTrust Philippines, Jennifer Tongko. So everyone who registered in this webinar will automatically get an email invite to this. So hope you can join us on the 16th of September. There are a couple more of announcements that we will share from POWERinU. We'll take this opportunity to just share with you also a couple of interesting announcements. So first is that POWERinU is launching an organizational restructuring program. If your business is facing financial and operational challenges, such as what probably Omi, has
Yeah.
described as well as a rock bottom for the organization, or say for individuals, don't worry, because we do have a program that can hopefully help you redesign and rebuild your organization's blueprint to success. You're not alone, as what Omia said. These are seasons, and there's road to recovery. So
Yeah.
together with our partners AAI, Assessment Analytics Inc., and Gentem Consulting, we have formed a strategic partnership, and we offer you a powerful solution to help your organization recover and even thrive in these challenging times. Together, we can create a viable and relevant plan for you that will lead to achieving significant results and rebuilding an even stronger business. So get in touch with us to learn more about this program. And finally, we do have facilitator-led online programs or workshops that will start this September up to November. So these are sessions on leadership. Our title is Reinventing Leadership Amidst Constant Change. So we have 3 key programs: Empowering Your Change Leadership, Empowering Your Emotional Intelligence, and Empowering Your Leadership in Coaching. So do go to our website, powerinu.com.ph, and check the calendar page for details and registration. And lastly, before we end this webinar, I'd like to ask for your help to give your answers to these 2 questions in our poll to help us continuously improve our webinar. Okay, so 10 seconds for you to answer this very easy, quick 2 questions. Okay, so I guess we have most of the answers now. So thank you very much for participating, giving us your feedback for continuous improvement. And so this ends our webinar for this month of August. It's been a very enlightening, empowering, uplifting, inspiring full hour with our webinar speaker, Dr. Omi Romero. Okay, so who's a good friend. So I'm fond of calling him Omi. You know, we go a long way back. And Omi, thank you so much. Thank
you.
you for your
Yeah.
time and wisdom. Thank you, everyone. And see you in our next webinar. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.